Hey, glad you're here tonight. Elevate Omaha, Elevate Fremont, Millard, all of you, hopefully you're having a fun time. I just want to do a reminder for us. I think it is awesome when we get together, we have a blast, we hang out, we play games. But man, when some of you guys, when you come into this moment of worship, man, you're missing out on a really important piece of Elevate and what Elevate is. It's a chance for you to connect with the creator of the universe. And so some of you, I know you're excited to see friends you haven't seen all week, and you just want to laugh and joke, but man, I just challenge you, take advantage of those few minutes during those songs at the beginning and at the end, and just engage with God in those moments. I just ask you to do it just for the people in this room, because there's people in this room, this is their moment when they're finally getting a chance to just come and sit in his presence after a hard week, after something they've experienced that's tearing them up inside. And this is the thing that gives them hope and gives them peace again. So I would just ask that even if you want to, talk and laugh, just don't do it during that time. Try to make that time a time where people can focus on who they're worshiping and not joking around and distracting others around you. That's my challenge for you guys when you come here. Like I said, you can come here early. We open these doors at like 5:30. Caleb Askew, he's always here hanging out. Come early and hang out and laugh and joke. Yeah, Caleb, yeah, sure. Same with Fremont, same with Millard. Come early, get all your hanging out in, laugh and joke, all that good stuff. Hang late. We're here till like 8:30, 9 some weeks. Do all that stuff then, but when you come into that moment of worship, just engage with that time, okay? So let's continue on here, all right? We're in week 4 of the Epiphany series, and here's my epiphany tonight for you guys that I've been thinking about. Have you ever had one of those people in your lives where you just thought, man, that person is amazing, they're awesome, they're funny, they're smart, they're really likable, like they're everything like you want to be. They're just like this awesome, like they're a magnet. You just want to go hang out with them. Have you ever had one of those people in your life and you could not figure out for the life of you why they hung out with some of the people they hung out with? Like, I think there's people sometimes that are just these great, awesome people that we look at and we think, oh, they're amazing. But why do they hang out with that guy? Or why do they hang out with that girl? And we cannot figure it out. I got to confess to you, I had a friend like this when I was in college at Nebraska Christian College. His name was Josh, and he was just liked by the entire school, which isn't saying much. I went to a college of like 150 kids, but still, everybody loved this guy. He was just kind of a guy that lit up the room every time he walked into it. In fact, as a senior, he was voted class president of the entire school. So, he's just one of those people that, they just look at and they think, man, that guy is awesome. I want to be around him. But a lot of people looked at him and they said, man, I do not get why he hangs out with the people he hangs out with. I was one of those people. Like I was kind of a jerk in college. I'll just be honest with you guys. We were all on the basketball team together, me and my friends, and Josh was on the team. And Josh, he did a great job being nice to everyone. And our other group of friends that he hung out with on the team, we just kind of hung with ourselves. We didn't really talk to anyone else. We didn't really get along with a lot of other people at the school. And so a lot of people looked at Josh and they said, man, I love Josh, but I do not understand the people he hangs out with. I don't get it. Okay? Tonight, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about Jesus, because a lot of people love Jesus. A lot of people are attracted to who Jesus is. They think, yes, he's amazing, he's awesome, he's done incredible things, but a lot of people don't like Christians. That's what we're talking about tonight. Why do people love Jesus but cannot stand Christians? Now, I've got some theories on it, why I think that is. I think Jesus, he is that person that everyone likes, but his followers, his disciples, Christians today, we've kind of gained a bad reputation. If you just look around on social media for very long, you start to find different people that claim to be Christian saying a lot of hateful things. You know, I'll see these people just kind of, ripping on a celebrity or ripping on somebody on Twitter, and then I'll go and I'll click on their bio and I'll read it, and it'll say something like John 3:16, Christ follower, all this stuff. And I just had read their tweet that said a whole lot of words that I can't repeat on stage, and they were just tearing this person down. And I think, man, that's one of the reasons right there. We've got a lot of people claiming to be Christians, claiming to be Christ followers, but showing a whole lot of hate in the world. So that's what I want to talk about tonight, what it means and how we can change that. I think all of us in this room, you're this next generation coming up. You can change what people think about Christians. Your generation, you can reshape everything, okay? Your generation Z, that's what they're calling you guys. Or what are they calling you, the I generation? Like iPhone, I generation. You're the next generation. You're not millennials. You're something totally different and unique. You're this next group coming up, and you've got a chance to change how people view the church, how people view Christians. So I want to challenge you, engage tonight, check out this scripture, and ask yourself and ask God, how can I represent Jesus better in this world? All right, check it out. Luke chapter 10 is where we're at tonight, verse 25. Some of you guys, you've probably heard this before. We're going to talk about it again because it's an amazing passage. And if you've never heard it before, awesome. Okay? The most important commandment. One day, an expert in religious law, some would call him a lawyer. Some would call him just high up in the religious circles. He was well respected. He stood up, and like all these people, they're hanging out in the temple courts. Okay, that's where they're hanging out. That's where Jesus would go and he would teach. And so this guy, he stands up to test Jesus. So there's all these people sitting around watching and listening, these teachers, and listen to them speak and talk about all different topics. And so this guy, he wants to kind of make a name for himself, and he stands up and he asks Jesus this question. Teacher, what should I do to inherit eternal life? Which is really the ultimate question. That's what many of us ask. We want to know, Jesus, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to live forever? Because who doesn't want to live forever? Jesus replied, what does the law of Moses say? How do you read it? Okay. The man answered, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Pretty simple. Love God and love your neighbor. Love people. Right, Jesus told him, do this and you will live. Like Jesus is he's trying to encourage him and say, yeah, you get it. You're right. Now go and do it. Which I think this religious teacher, this lawyer, I think he got a little offended here. Because in his mind, he thought he had been doing it. And so that's why he asked this next question. The man wanted to justify his actions. So he asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? In his mind, he thinks he is doing everything he's supposed to be doing. He thinks he's loving God, and he thinks he is loving his neighbor. Now, he knows, okay, maybe there's some people I'm not that nice to. Maybe, that person over there, I was kind of a jerk, or this person. But the people that really matter in life, I'm really nice to them. Like my family and my close friends and the other religious teachers. I love them. I show them respect. And so when Jesus says, go and do that, he knows Jesus is taking a dig at him. He's trying to say that he's not doing enough, which really none of us do enough. That's the whole point of what Jesus is saying here. Really, you can't do enough. You cannot follow the law perfectly the way Jesus did. We are all sinners. We all fall short, and we all are saved by grace if we choose that path. But this guy, he wants to try and justify himself and say, I can save myself. I don't need anyone else to do it for me. I do enough. And so what he wants to do here is he wants to cut the law down to fit him and his lifestyle. Because he knows he does love God, and he does love some of his neighbors. He does love some people. And so right here, he's kind of saying, Jesus, why don't you define who my neighbor is? Because I think I do love my neighbor. And so Jesus tells him this, the parable of the Good Samaritan. Jesus replied with a story. A Jewish man was traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. They stripped him of his clothes, they beat him up, and they left him half dead beside the road. Now, from Jerusalem to Jericho, I'll show you guys in a minute here what that looks like. But Jerusalem to Jericho, it was a 17-mile trip, and it was down below sea level. So you're in like this cliff area, and there's huge like rocks next to you, and it's like this tiny narrow path, and there was caves like everywhere. And so it was very likely that bandits, they would be hiding out in these caves. And if you were traveling alone, you didn't stand much of a chance. These bandits, they'd come out and they would attack you. They would steal everything you had. And that's what these guys did. By chance, a priest came along. But when he saw the man lying there, he crossed to the other side of the road and passed him by. A temple assistant walked over and looked at him lying there, but he also passed by on the other side. Okay, now I got to tell you, Jesus, he's making a joke here. Sometimes we read the Bible, we have no clue about some of the great jokes Jesus makes. Here's the joke. He's saying that these guys, they passed by on the other side of the road. Take a look at what this road looks like. Maybe. Boom. Boom. There it is. There it is. All right. That's the road. There is no other side of the road. He was saying, Jesus was telling this guy, literally, these people walked up and they went, "Ugh, see ya." And they just left that guy lying there bleeding, half dead on the ground. That is what they did. Because in their mind, they had more important things to do. They didn't know him. He wasn't their family. They weren't even sure, who he was, if he would live. They thought maybe he's dead already. And for Jewish priests, anyone that worked in the temple, if they touched someone dead or something dead, it made them unclean. And so then they weren't able to perform their priestly duties at the temple. Okay, they had things they had to do, and if you touch something dead, you can't do them. So in their mind, they thought they were doing the right thing. They're like, "Oh, I need to focus on what's important. This guy's dead. I need to go to church and I need to go preach. Like, preaching's more important than helping this almost dead guy." So they left him there. They walked right over him. Verse 33. Then a despised Samaritan came along. Samaritans were hated. Like Jewish people and Samaritans, it was like Nebraskans and Iowans, all right? Like it was just bad blood, all right? Very bad blood. Now, I love you Iowa people, all right? But there's some tension sometimes between Nebraska and Iowa, especially when we keep losing to you guys in football. Gosh, all right? So a despised Samaritan came along, and when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. Going over to him, the Samaritan, he soothed his wounds with olive oil and wine and bandaged them. Then he put the man on his own donkey and took him to an inn where he took care of him. The next day, he handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins, telling him, "Take care of this man. If his bill runs higher than this, I'll pay you the next time I'm here." Now, which of these 3 would you say was a neighbor to the man who was attacked by bandits? Jesus asked. The man replied, "The one who showed him mercy." He couldn't even say the Samaritan. He just said the one who showed him mercy. He couldn't bear to say the name Samaritan. That's how bad the blood is between Jewish people and the Samaritans. Then Jesus said, "Yes, now go and do the same." For this teacher of the law, a Jewish man, I can't even, let me put this into perspective for you. Like, it would be like hearing a story just like this, but that person lying there on the ground, it's a wounded American. And an Islamic extremist stops, helps him, picks him up, takes care of him, takes him to the inn, pays his doctor bills, does everything he can for this man. Like, that's how shocking this story was to everyone hearing it in that moment. They couldn't believe it. For us here in America, we would be shocked if we heard a story like that. Like, really? Wow, that's incredible. That is what this was to these people. It was shocking. To some, it was offensive to hear that this Samaritan was the hero of the story rather than a Jewish priest or somebody that worked in the temple. That bothered them. And that bothered this teacher. This teacher came looking to justify himself. He came looking to make a name for himself. And Jesus, he really puts him in his place. And he calls him out here in a way that convicts this guy. Now, here's what I think right now. Here in America, Christians, the church, I think we're struggling with representing Jesus. I think too many times we're like this teacher of the law, or we're like those first two people in the parable. We're too busy focusing on the things that we should do, following the rules, doing the right thing, that we forget that God is calling us to just love people. Sometimes we care more about correcting people than connecting with people. I mean, when you look on Twitter and Facebook and you see the people calling each other out for all these things and saying, oh no, like you're wrong for believing this, or you're wrong for voting this way. And people are just mad and angry. And you see all these people that you know, man, they're Christian, they're Christian, they're Christian. And they're just kind of using these social media platforms to call people out and try and correct people all the time, rather than just love them and connect with them. I think that's one of the ways that we're missing the boat as believers and how we're misrepresenting Jesus. I think too often we're focused on the wrong things and we miss what's right in front of us. We're too busy focusing on doing the right things, following the right rules, making sure other people are following the right rules, that we miss the mess of people right in front of us. We miss the people in our lives that are hurting and broken, and they're laying there at our feet, and we're just stepping right over them because we're too focused out here. Jesus wants us to connect with people. He wants us to love people. He wants us to serve people sacrificially. That's what this guy did. He risked his life by stopping there on that pass. Those bandits, they could have still been near. They could have came back and they could have gotten him while he was helping that guy laying there. He gave up his own supplies. He gave up riding on his donkey so this guy could ride on him. And he gave up his money. He sacrificed over and over again. And that is what Jesus wants us to realize. Real love for our neighbor does not care who the neighbor is. It does not care what the sacrifice is. That is what Jesus is calling us to. That's the way we show that we love God. You know, a lot of us, we say, yeah, I love God. He's great. I love Jesus. He's amazing. But are you actually living it out? The only way to do that is to love people. Because God created people. And not just to love the people you like, because it's really easy to love, your mom or your dad. Well, some days, I know there's issues sometimes. It's really easy to love your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever. You guys aren't really in love, just so you know. It ain't gonna work. All right? It's really easy to love the people we like. But can you learn to love the people you don't like? Can you learn to love the people from Iowa in your life? Honestly, Kathy Thompson, I love you, all right? You're awesome. I hate that you love Iowa football, but as a person, you're great. Okay. Can you choose to love when it's hard, to love no matter religion, no matter race, no matter what they believe or say or do? Can you choose to love when it's hard? When it's a difficult person for you to love, when you have some kind of prejudice built up in your heart against somebody, when you have kind of a preconceived notion about who that person is. Man, I've got people like that in my life right now that I look at and I get mad. Like there are people in my life that I just think, boy, Jesus, just come back, I'm done dealing with these people. And I know he's calling me in my life to lay down my pride, to lay down everything in me that's hateful or angry, and to love sacrificially. That's what Jesus calls us to. That's real love. When people first started climbing Mount Everest, it happened a few years back. There was this guy named David Sharp, and he had this goal to make it all the way to the top of Mount Everest. And it was a big deal. They had just opened up the mountain for climbing. It had been closed for a while, and so all these people were swarming to Mount Everest to climb. And David Sharp, he got about 900 feet from the peak, the very top. And all of a sudden, he just collapsed. And he lay there struggling to breathe. And one by one, people started to pass him by because they were focused on making it to the peak. And they knew if they stopped to help him, they wouldn't be able to make it. They wouldn't be able to achieve their goals that they'd come out to accomplish. And so one by one, people keep passing him by as he's trying to get their attention, trying to get some help, trying to get some extra oxygen. Because some of these people, they had extra oxygen tanks with them. But they knew if they used it on him, they wouldn't be able to make it to the peak. And so they kept thinking, somebody else will come along. Somebody else will help him. 40 people passed him. They walked right by. By the time somebody stopped, it was too late. He had already died. Stop waiting for somebody else to come along. Stop waiting for somebody else to do what Jesus is calling you to do. There's people in your life that he has put you there to be a light for. He's calling you tonight. Who is it that he's putting on your heart right now, here in this room, there in Fremont, there in Millard? Who is he speaking into your life that he's saying you need to be a light to them? Nobody else is coming. You're the one that I've sent. Stop looking past and look down. Stop stepping over the mess in front of you. There are people that are hurt and broken and lost in their sin, and Jesus is telling you tonight, stop and help them. Nobody else is coming. You're the one that I've sent. Be a light in this world. Show love, even when it's hard. Let's pray. God, thank you for this group of students and leaders that we get to come together and we get to worship. And God, I just pray in these next couple songs that you would just put it on our hearts who you're calling us to be a light to, that you make it clear. And God, I pray that when we have conversations or when we have a chance to show these people love, to show them kindness, to serve them even when it's hard, that you would convict us in those moments, that you would make it crystal clear that you've called us right here in this moment to be a light for you. God, help us to take advantage of every moment, every chance, every opportunity you give us to light up this world with your name. We love you, Jesus. In your name we pray. Amen.